Hello everyone. I want to share with you a reflection that I'm having about what it really means for us to be an ecological overshoot and to do regenerative work. Because those of us who take ecology and physics seriously, we understand that our fears about keeping an unsustainable world going are not based in reality, except that we're afraid of what happens when we ignore ecology, when we ignore the laws of life. And something that I've been seeing in the last few years has been this very profound difference between people who say that they're doing environmental or sustainable or regenerative work, who ignore physics and who ignore ecology. People who don't accept how collapse works as part of living systems. And that a big part of life, of autopoiesis, of the dynamic of living systems, is the cycling of nutrients, the breakdown of bodies. And you can see some of it here. Look, here are some plant materials from this bush and some leaves that have fallen, and they're starting to build soil. That right there is the secret, right in front of our eyes, of what we need to do with our globalized civilization. We need to allow the materials and the resources that are holding the life of this life-destroying civilization. We need to give them a direction where they can fall as they collapse and break down, so that they can become nutrients for the new life that's to come. And I think many of you know that I'm an advocate for bioregionalism, for reorganizing the human presence as part of living systems embedded in place. Such an obvious thing, right? Life functions where there's land. Life functions where there's water. And life functions where nutrients that are needed for life, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus being the principal, and then the others that accompany them, cycled through very, very complex chemistry in mycelia and fungi and microorganisms in the roots of plants and in the bodies of animals. So simple. And yet there are still many who are trying to carry regenerative practices forward as if these aren't the basis of life, as if technology is the basis of life, as if software, as if artificial machines thinking based on rules that often ignore how life works. And what I found is that there is this profound difference between the people doing regenerative work who have come to understand these cycles of life and accept the collapse process as fundamental to life, and those who deny its existence to try to perpetuate systems of destruction so that they can maintain privilege and power in the old paradigm. And what I found is that those of us who have come into a deeper relationship with life, we know that the globalized civilization of humanity and the human population is an accumulation of materials in a very small subset of life. Just think about it. We don't know how much biodiversity there is. Estimates range from between 10 million and 100 million species. And estimates range that the current extinction process will take away or cause extinction for 1 million species, 2 million species, 5 million species, maybe more. So what happens when life is out of balance? It restores itself through decay, decomposition, and revitalization of life. This is fundamental. So a lot of what we're doing in the regenerative world is reconnecting with these life pathways, reconnecting with this ethics of care that our indigenous ancestors carried with them to get us to this point. That's why we're here. We're here because our ancestors found harmonious relationships with life. And the people who are advancing regenerative processes while denying this collapse process are fundamentally denying the core logic of life. So those of us who come to a place of grieving and of acceptance about the death and the decay that is occurring and that will soon occur in the human population, we are freed to be with life again and to carry life forward, which is why I found it to be fundamental to come to a place of collapse acceptance. And notice how this isn't the same as preppers who just try to survive on their own, because life also is a menagerie of collaboration between species. And humans are profoundly social and cooperative, and we can work with and partner with entire ecosystems. This is how we restore dead rivers. This is how we bring harmony back to life. And so I wanted to share this with you because one of the ways that I am polarizing and divisive among some of the leadership in the regenerative movement is that I deeply work with life and I accept collapse. And those who are trying to perpetuate an unsustainable system by denying this life process are carrying an incoherence in themselves, an incoherence with life itself. We don't know if humans are going to survive the extinction processes that are already underway and that are intensifying. But it's safe to say, based on ecological and physics knowledge, that the only way humans will survive this and not go extinct is to reintegrate ourselves with these life processes, which is the intentional composting of civilization. This is the work of moving money into landscape restoration. This is the process of restoring life as a relationship between humans and the rest of life on this planet. And so I wanted to share this because there are some people who have chosen to project ego and have chosen to project divisiveness onto human beings who accept this collapse process, when in reality, the conflict is between an ideology that ignores life and ideology that is able to be in harmony with life. And this is the fundamental difference. So if you want to do regenerative work, ask yourself, what happens when the life systems of the biosphere of an entire planet are placed in service of the perpetuation of a single species at the expense of all else? And you will see the logic that is needed, the pathway to our liberation, the pathway to what the Anishinaabe people call the eighth fire, where we choose either the path of ruin, destruction, and our own death, or we choose the path of restoration, revitalization, regeneration of life, and the possibility that humans continue existing as part of the earth. This is fundamental. Fundamental. So I invite all who recognize the processes of life to come to a place of grieving and acceptance in yourself about the collapse processes that are occurring, so that you can participate wholly and completely in your heart in the restoration of biodiversity, the restoration of the cycling of life. This is the invitation for humanity right now.